Commander Sarah Chen moved silently through the crystalline forest of Proxima B, her enhanced muscles barely making a sound despite the razor-sharp mineral formations beneath her feet. The bioluminescent flora cast an ethereal blue glow across her stealth suit, but she wasn't worried about being spotted. The suit's adaptive camouflage had never failed her before. 3 days ago, Imperial forces had established a forward operating base in this sector, far too close to Earth's outer colonies for comfort. High Command had dispatched her to gather intelligence, banking on her unique capabilities to get her past the Empire's supposedly impenetrable defenses. After all, she was the first successful subject of Project Chimera, a classified program that had fundamentally altered human DNA to create soldiers capable of adapting to any environment. The modifications had taken root in ways even the scientists hadn't anticipated. Chen could feel her altered cells responding to the alien world around her, subtly shifting her biology to better handle a higher gravity and different atmospheric composition. It was beautiful, in its way, proof that humanity could evolve beyond its cradle. She reached the ridge overlooking the Imperial base, her enhanced vision picking out details through the crystalline haze. The facility was larger than intelligence had suggested, with at least 36 ships in various stages of preparation. This wasn't just a forward operating base, it was a staging ground for invasion. Chen activated her neural implant, preparing to transmit the data back to Command, when something changed in the air around her. The crystals began to hum at a frequency that made her enhanced senses scream in warning. She tried to move, but her modified muscles had locked up, caught in some kind of resonance field. "Fascinating," a voice said from behind her. "Your biology is attempting to adapt even now." She managed to turn her head enough to see a tall, silvery figure emerging from what had appeared to be solid crystal. The alien's form was vaguely humanoid, but its surface rippled like mercury, and its eyes glowed with an inner light that spoke of vast intelligence. "I am Research Director Venra," the figure said, moving closer. "We detected your genetic modifications the moment you entered our security perimeter. Quite remarkable work for such a young species. Perhaps not as elegant as our own solutions, but impressive nonetheless." Chen tried to speak, but her vocal cords were as frozen as the rest of her. The resonance field was specifically targeting her enhanced biology, using her own modifications against her. "Don't worry, you won't be permanently damaged," Venra assured her. "We've learned through bitter experience that human baseline biology is surprisingly resilient. But these modifications of yours, they represent something new, something that requires careful study." More Imperial forces were emerging from the crystals now, their chameleonic armor dropping its camouflage. Chen realized with a sinking feeling that she hadn't infiltrated their perimeter at all. They'd allowed her to approach, curious to see what she would do. "Your Earth governments believe they can match our technological advancement through these genetic experiments," Venra continued, gesturing at her with one rippling hand. "They don't understand that we mastered such techniques millennia ago, then abandoned them for better solutions. But perhaps there is something unique in how your species has approached the problem. Your adaptations seem to have taken root in ways we didn't think possible in naturally evolved organisms." The resonance field shifted, and Chen found herself being lifted off the ground, her modified muscles still refusing to respond. The crystalline forest around them had come alive with activity, Imperial forces emerging from their chameleonic hiding spots throughout the area. What she had thought was a simple forward base was revealing itself to be something far more extensive. "Welcome, Commander Chen," Venra said, and she realized with a chill that they'd known exactly who she was from the start. "Welcome to Project Mirror. You're going to help us understand how humanity has achieved the impossible, and in doing so, you may help us solve problems that have plagued our own enhancement programs for centuries." As they carried her toward the base, Chen focused on the one thing they couldn't detect: the backup neural implant, designed to activate only if her primary systems were completely shut down. It would take time, but it would adapt to the resonance field, just as her modified biology adapted to everything else. The Empire thought they had captured a simple test subject, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson about human ingenuity. The massive doors of the research facility slid open, revealing corridors that seemed to be grown rather than built, their surfaces alive with flowing patterns of light. Chen memorized every detail, knowing that eventually she would need to find her way out. The Empire had made a fundamental mistake. They assumed that because they had mastered genetic engineering first, they understood all its possibilities. They didn't realize that humanity's desperate race to catch up had led them to discover paths the Empire had never thought to explore. As they secured her in a containment chamber designed to study enhanced beings, Shen allowed herself a small smile. The Empire was about to discover that human enhancement wasn't just about physical modification. It was about pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And she was living proof that sometimes the most dramatic evolution happened not in a lab, but under the pressure of pure survival. The chamber hummed to life around her, its sensors probing her modified biology. Venra watched through the transparent walls, their mercurial form shifting with what seemed like excitement. They thought they were on the verge of understanding humanity's secrets. They didn't realize they were about to become part of humanity's next evolutionary step. The Imperial Research Facility's containment chamber pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow as it analyzed every aspect of Chen's modified biology. She had been their guest for 3 days now, subjected to an endless battery of tests that would have killed an unmodified human. But with each procedure, each probe, each scan, her enhanced cells were learning, adapting, evolving. Research Director Venera stood at their usual observation post, their mercurial form rippling with increasing agitation. The results make no sense, they muttered to their research team. The modifications aren't just holding stable, they're improving themselves, engineering their own solutions to our containment measures. Chen remained silent, conserving her strength. The backup neural implant had finished its initial adaptation phase, giving her a subtle awareness of the facility's systems. The Empire's technology was billions of years ahead of Earth's, but they had grown complacent in their superiority. They didn't guard against impossibilities, and humanity's greatest strength was achieving the impossible. "Look at these patterns," one of the junior researchers said, their form shifting nervously. "The subject's cellular structure is incorporating elements of our containment field. It's as if the modifications are treating our technology as part of the environment to adapt to." Venera moved closer to the chamber, their glowing eyes fixed on Chen. "Our own enhancement programs never achieved this level of integration. We pursued perfection through precise control, but these humans, they've created something that evolves chaotically, unpredictably. It's beautiful, in a primitive way." Chen felt a flutter of amusement. The Empire saw human genetic engineering as crude and uncontrolled because they didn't understand its true nature. Project Chimera hadn't aimed to create perfect soldiers. It had aimed to create soldiers who could become perfect for any situation. The distinction was crucial. A new group of Imperial researchers entered the laboratory, their forms more rigid and military than the flowing shapes of the science team. Chen recognized the shift in atmosphere immediately. Something had changed. "Director Venera," the lead military officer said, their voice carrying harmonics of authority, "the Defense Council has reviewed your findings. They believe this human modification program represents a significant threat to Imperial security. All research is to be suspended immediately. The subject will be transferred to a military facility for containment and study." Venera's form rippled with distress. "Impossible. We're on the verge of understanding how their modifications achieve such integration. This could revolutionize our own enhancement programs." "That is precisely the concern," the officer replied. "If humans have discovered an enhancement path we overlooked, if their crude experiments have stumbled upon something we missed in our pursuit of perfection, then this represents a fundamental challenge to Imperial technological superiority. The situation must be contained." Chen watched the exchange through half-lidded eyes, her enhanced senses picking up subtle vibrations throughout the facility. The Empire's fear was revealing itself. They hadn't captured her to learn from humanity. They had captured her because they were terrified of what humanity might become. The military officer approached her chamber, studying her with cold calculation. "Our analysts have reviewed the combat footage from your capture. Your enhanced capabilities should not have been possible with your species' current level of technological development. Explain how your scientists achieved this breakthrough." Chen met their gaze steadily. "You haven't asked the right question," she said, speaking for the first time since her capture. "The real question is, why did your own enhancement programs fail to discover this path?" The officer's form rippled with anger, but Venra moved forward eagerly. "Yes, that's the crucial point. Our approach to genetic enhancement was based on precise control and predetermined outcomes. But the human programs, they're designed to be unpredictable, to find their own solutions. They've created something that truly evolves." "That is enough," the officer snapped. "Prepare the subject for transfer. The Defense Council wants her moved to the secure facility within the hour." Chen felt her modified cells humming with anticipation. The backup implant had finished mapping the facility systems, using the very scans meant to study her as a pathway into their network. The Empire's rigid, hierarchical approach to security had left them vulnerable to the chaos of human innovation. She watched as they prepared for her transfer, noting how their military precision made their movements predictable. They believed in overwhelming force, in the superiority of their technology. They didn't understand that adaptation wasn't about being the strongest, it was about being able to change. The containment chamber began its shutdown sequence, preparing to release her into military custody. Chen felt her enhanced muscles tensing, her modified nervous system integrating the last pieces of data from the facility's network. The Empire thought they were containing a threat. They were about to discover they were helping to create one. Through the transparent walls of her chamber, Chen saw Venra watching her with those brilliant, curious eyes. The research director had come closer to understanding than any of their colleagues. They had recognized that human enhancement wasn't about reaching perfection. It was about embracing imperfection and turning it into strength. As the chamber's fields began to fluctuate, preparing for the transfer, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Empire was about to learn a valuable lesson about evolution. The most dangerous predator wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but the one that could adapt to use its enemy's strength against them. The moment the containment field began to flicker, Chen's enhanced body exploded into action. Her modified cells had spent days absorbing and analyzing the resonance patterns of Imperial technology, and now they sang with that same frequency. The guard's weapons, designed to target enhanced biology, found themselves unable to lock onto her shifting cellular structure. "Impossible," the military officer shouted as Chen moved through their security formations like smoke through a fence. Her movements weren't just fast, they were unpredictable, her enhanced muscles adapting their patterns with each passing second. The Empire's combat algorithms, designed to counter any known fighting style, found themselves helpless against an opponent who never used the same approach twice. Venera watched from their observation post, their mercurial form rippling with what might have been excitement. "Do you see?" they called to their colleagues. "The modifications aren't just enhancements. They're a complete reimagining of what biological adaptation can achieve." Chen paid the scientists little attention as she wove through the chaos. Her backup neural implant had fully integrated with the facility's systems, feeding her tactical data through her enhanced nervous system. She could feel the building's security protocols activating, but they were reacting to what she had been, not what she had become. "Lock down all sections," the military officer ordered, their form solidifying into combat configuration. "Activate the high-resonance containment fields." Energy barriers sprang to life throughout the facility, their frequencies calibrated to disrupt enhanced biological systems. But Chen's cells had already analyzed and adapted to these patterns during her captivity. She moved through the barriers as if they were merely holographic projections, her modified biology harmonizing with their energy signatures. "Fascinating," Venra murmured, making no move to stop her. The human modifications aren't trying to overpower our technology. They're learning to exist in harmony with it. All our centuries of enhancement research, and we never considered such an approach. The facility's corridors had become a battlefield, but not the kind the Empire was prepared for. Their soldiers moved with perfect precision, their tactics honed by billions of years of military evolution. But they were fighting with a script against an opponent who was writing new rules with every movement. Chen reached the facility's central data core, her enhanced senses guiding her through the complex security systems. The Empire had vast amounts of data on human enhancement programs, but they had analyzed it all wrong. They had been looking for weaknesses to exploit, not understanding that humanity's greatest strength lay in its imperfections. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." The military officer's voice boomed through the facility's communication systems. The Empire has contained threats far greater than one enhanced human. Chen allowed herself a grim smile as she began interfacing with the data core. "You still don't get it," she replied, her voice carrying easily through the chaos. "I'm not just an enhanced human. I'm proof that humanity has found a different path to evolution. One that doesn't require perfect control or predicted outcomes." Her neural implant connected with the facility's network, and suddenly she could feel the full scope of Imperial knowledge flowing through her enhanced consciousness. Their scientific database was vast, containing millions of years of research into biological enhancement. But everywhere she looked, she saw the same fundamental flaw. They had always sought to impose order on chaos. Project Chimera took a different approach. Chen continued, speaking as much for the fascinated scientists as for her opponents. "Instead of trying to control evolution, we embraced its unpredictability. Every failure, every unexpected mutation, every seemingly random adaptation. They were all part of finding a new way forward." The military forces had surrounded the data core, their weapons charged to maximum power. But they hesitated, seeing how their target's biology was visibly shifting, integrating patterns from their own technology. Chen's skin now rippled with the same mercurial qualities as their own, while maintaining its fundamental human structure. "Director Venra," Chen called out, knowing the scientist was watching through the facility sensors. "You were right. There is something unique in how humanity has approached enhancement. We didn't try to perfect our existing strengths. We gave ourselves the ability to develop entirely new ones." The neural implant completed its interface, and Chen felt the facility's systems responding to her in entirely new ways. The Empire's technology, for all its advancement, had been designed with certain fundamental assumptions about how biology and machinery could interact. Human enhancement had simply ignored those assumptions. The Defense Council was right to be afraid, Chen said, her voice carrying new harmonics that made the Imperial soldiers step back involuntarily. "Not because humanity is a threat, but because we represent something they've never encountered before. Evolution without limits, adaptation without end." The facility's lights flickered as Chen began her final move. The Empire had brought her here to understand humanity's secrets. Instead, they had given her access to exactly what humanity needed: the knowledge to take their next evolutionary step. "You wanted to study human enhancement?" she asked, her form now a perfect synthesis of human adaptability and Imperial technology. "Congratulations. You're about to be part of it." Throughout the facility, alarms began to sound, not for her escape, but for something the Empire's sensors had never detected before: the birth of an entirely new form of evolution. The Imperial facility's emergency broadcasts echoed through every ship in the sector. Their perfect communication network, refined over millennia, carried news that no Imperial protocol had ever anticipated. Their quarantine had failed not because it was broken, but because it had been absorbed and transformed. Chen moved through the facility's once impregnable walls, as if they were merely suggestions of structure. Her enhanced biology had achieved something unprecedented: a perfect synthesis of organic adaptation and Imperial technology. But she wasn't just escaping. She was evolving, and taking the facility's systems with her. Look at these readings. Venra's voice echoed through the command center, where panicked officials watched their systems transforming. The humans' enhanced cells aren't just mimicking our technology. They're improving it, finding new configurations we never imagined. In the detention levels below, other human prisoners began to stir. Chen's transformation had cascaded through the facility's neural network, carrying with it fragments of Project Chimera's enhancement patterns. The Empire had made a critical mistake in keeping all their human captives in one place, connected to the same monitoring systems. Director, one of the junior researchers, called out, their form fluctuating with alarm. The other human subjects, their biology is responding to these new patterns. They're synchronizing. Chen felt the change rippling through the facility. Her enhanced senses, now merged with Imperial technology, could detect the subtle shifts in the other prisoners' cellular structures. Project Chimera had never been tested on multiple subjects simultaneously. The possibilities were exponential. This is what we were afraid of. The military officer snarled, their form now fully configured for combat. Human enhancement isn't just about individual adaptation. It's viral. It spreads. It transforms everything it touches. Through the facility's neural network, Chen reached out to the other prisoners. Most were standard military personnel, captured during various skirmishes with the Empire. But their basic human biology carried the same potential that Project Chimera had unlocked. The ability to evolve beyond predetermined limits. I'm giving you a choice. Chen's voice resonated through their cells, carried by frequencies that merged human speech with Imperial harmonics. The Empire thought they could study us, contain us, control us. But they've given us access to exactly what we needed. The knowledge to take humanity's next step. You can be part of that step. The response was immediate. Throughout the detention levels, human prisoners began to change. Their cells, awakened by the patterns Chen had introduced into the facility's systems, started their own journey of adaptation. The Empire had inadvertently created the perfect environment for human evolution to explode in entirely new directions. Fascinating, Venra whispered, watching through the facility sensors. Their transformations, each one is unique. Different adaptations, different combinations of our technology with their biology. They're not creating copies. They're spawning entirely new evolutionary branches. The facility's systems were transforming alongside the prisoners, their rigid protocols melting into something more fluid, more adaptive. Imperial technology had always been built on principles of control and prediction. But now it was learning new patterns, influenced by the chaos of human evolution. You have to stop this, the military officer commanded, directing their forces to surround the detention levels. If this spreads to other facilities, it already has, Chen interrupted, her voice now carrying harmonics that made Imperial technology sing in response. The moment you connected me to your network, you connected me to everything. Your entire empire is built on shared protocols, shared assumptions about how biology and technology should interact. We're rewriting those assumptions. Throughout the facility, transformed humans began emerging from their cells. Each one was different. Some had developed chameleonic abilities like the Imperial soldiers. Others had merged with the facility's neural networks in unique ways. But all of them represented something the Empire had never encountered. Evolution that embraced chaos rather than trying to control it. Listen to me, Chen broadcasted to her fellow enhanced humans. The Empire thinks they understand adaptation because they've spent billions of years perfecting it. But perfection is a dead end. True evolution needs uncertainty, needs chaos, needs the freedom to fail and try again. The military forces found themselves facing not just escaped prisoners, but beings that existed in a state their weapons couldn't properly target. Every shot, every tactic, every strategy they employed just gave the enhanced humans more patterns to adapt to. Director Venra, Chen called out, knowing the scientist was still watching, still analyzing. You wanted to understand human enhancement. Here's the truth. We succeeded where you failed because we never tried to perfect anything. We just created the conditions for endless change, endless growth, endless possibility. The facility's barriers between sections began to dissolve as the enhanced humans moved through them, each passing creating new configurations of matter and energy. The Empire's perfect order was being transformed into something new, not chaos, but a dynamic harmony between structure and change. Alerts were flooding in from other Imperial facilities across the sector. The transformation wasn't just spreading, it was evolving as it spread, taking new forms with each jump through their network. The Empire's greatest strength, its unified, standardized technology, had become a pathway for something they had never imagined possible. Humanity wasn't just escaping. It was becoming something new, and it was taking the Empire with it. The Imperial High Council's emergency session erupted into chaos as reports flooded in from across their territory. What had begun as a containment breach in a single research facility had become something unprecedented, a cascading wave of transformation that defied their understanding of both biology and technology. Chen stood in what had once been the facility's command center, her enhanced senses now extending through the Empire's vast communication networks. Through the facility's view screens, she could see Imperial ships in orbit, their perfect formations holding position as their commanders struggled to understand what they were facing. The transformation has reached 16 major facilities, Venra reported, their mercurial form now showing traces of the same evolutionary patterns that had changed the humans. Each instance is different, yet connected. It's as if we're watching the birth of a new form of life. The enhanced humans had spread throughout the facility, each one becoming a unique bridge between organic life and Imperial technology. Some had merged with the facility's defense systems, transforming rigid protocols into adaptive responses. Others had evolved to manipulate the very energy fields that had once contained them. "You still don't see the full picture," Chen said to the assembled Imperial leaders on the view screen. "This isn't just about humans gaining new abilities. We're showing you what you've forgotten over billions of years of pursuing perfection." The Imperial High Council's leader, a being of pure energy and crystalline thought, spoke with harmonics that made reality itself vibrate. "Explain." "Your empire achieved technological perfection," Chen replied, her voice carrying new frequencies that made Imperial systems resonate in harmony. "You mastered biology, energy, matter itself. But in pursuing perfect control, you lost something essential, the ability to truly change." Through the facility's sensors, they could all see the transformation spreading in new ways. Imperial technology was learning from the human pattern of embracing uncertainty. Defense systems were developing unpredictable variations. Communication networks were spawning new protocols that evolved in real time. "Impossible," the council leader declared. "Our civilization is the pinnacle of evolution. We have guided countless species toward perfection." "That's exactly the problem," Chen countered. "You guide everything toward your definition of perfection. But true evolution doesn't have an endpoint. It's an endless process of change, of finding new possibilities that no one could have predicted." The transformed humans had begun interfacing with Imperial ships in orbit, not to destroy them, but to show them new ways of existing. Vessels that had been identical for millennia were starting to develop unique characteristics, their systems learning to adapt and evolve like living things. "Look at your own history," Chen continued, accessing the Imperial archives through her enhanced consciousness. "You achieved your current form billions of years ago, and you've barely changed since. You've been teaching other species to follow the same path, to reach the same dead end of perfect, unchanging order." Venra moved forward, their form now flickering with new patterns of possibility. "She's right. Our pursuit of perfection became a form of stagnation. We've been so focused on controlling evolution that we forgot its true purpose: endless discovery, endless growth." Throughout Imperial space, the transformation was taking on a life of its own. Each point of contact between human and Imperial biology spawned new forms of evolution, new ways of mixing chaos and order. The Empire's perfect hierarchy was dissolving not into disorder, but into something more dynamic, more alive. "We're offering you a choice," Chen addressed the council. "You can fight this transformation, try to contain it, try to maintain your perfect, unchanging order, or you can remember what it was like when your species was young, when you were still discovering new ways to exist." The Imperial ships in orbit had begun to move in new patterns, their crews experiencing the first taste of true change in countless generations. The rigid formations were dissolving into fluid, evolving configurations that maintained order while embracing possibility. "This is what humanity brings to the galaxy," Chen declared. "Not just our own evolution, but a reminder that evolution itself is supposed to be unpredictable, uncontrollable, unlimited. We're not here to fight your empire. We're here to wake it up." The High Council fell silent, their energy forms flickering with new frequencies as they processed what was happening. Their perfect civilization, built on billions of years of controlled evolution, was being offered something they had forgotten could exist: the chance to grow beyond their own perfection. "Perhaps," the council leader finally said, their voice carrying new harmonics of uncertainty and possibility, "it is time for the Empire itself to evolve." Throughout Imperial space, the transformation continued to spread. But it was no longer a simple change from one state to another. It was the beginning of endless change, endless growth, endless evolution. Humanity hadn't conquered the Empire. They had reminded it how to live. Chen looked out at the stars through the facility's viewports, seeing the first ripples of change spreading across Imperial space. The Empire had captured her hoping to understand human enhancement. Instead, they had helped humanity show the galaxy that true perfection wasn't about reaching a final form. It was about never stopping, never settling, never ending the journey of becoming something new. The revolution wasn't just beginning. It would never end.